Welcome back, everyone. This is Adam Korngold with session 2 of MVIS 5702.1 Visualization in Practice. I hope you had a good first week of the course. I hope you enjoyed the readings and formulating your briefs, which are again due by the end of this week, week 2 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday night. Last week, we walked through the layout of the course. We introduced our process and timetable for deliverables, which include the project proposal or brief that you're working on this week, the wireframe and minimum viable product that you're working on for weeks 4 and 5, and the final prototype for week 8. We also introduced the critique methodology, which I hope we'll all enjoy using as the framework for our discussions and critiques around our projects. Again, just to bring up that critique methodology once more, and you can even print this out and put it on a little post-it or keep it handy as we're doing critiques. We use as our first step describing the visual qualities of the work. We then analyze the principles of information design that are present. We interpret the overall goal of the visualization, and we then assess or evaluate how successful the visualization is in achieving its overall goals. Let's now review our readings for this week. We read the Duarte section that centered on being a communicator of data and becoming a mentor for your audience that may or may not be familiar or comfortable with data. So it's part of our role to teach them how to interpret our information, what that information means. And there are several dimensions or layers of understanding that our visualizations can accomplish. The first is discrete knowledge. These are very tactical insights that guide us and guide the audience on how to accomplish a certain task. We also have operational types of measures and types of visualizations that are almost like a regular data feed or a dashboard. And actually, dashboarding is something that a lot of us do in our organizations. And the best way to look at a management dashboard is just like the dashboard in your car. What should occupy our attention? When you look at the dashboard in your car, it only has about 6 dials on it at the most. So it tells you your speed, your RPM, your temperature of the engine, maybe a couple of other data points, so that you know just enough information to know, is this car operating the way I expect it to, or is it not operating the way I expect it to, and should I pull over? That gas gauge is also typically on your dashboard. And if you think of the dashboard in your car, it's a very simple one compared to, for example, the dashboard of a space capsule that has a lot of information, a lot of systems on it. The role of a dashboard here is to give you just enough information to know if you should dive deeper. Then there's another strategic dimension, which helps us make big decisions. So what are the data? What are the insights that we need to know to do big, difficult, and complex things? Andy Kirk, in his book, and the section we read for this week, conveys three important elements of the brief. The first is things we should know as we're formulating our brief. The first being our rationale. Why are we presenting these data? Why is it important? Why is it relevant? The second element is, who is your audience? To whom are you presenting? What's their objective? What biases and preferences do they have? How do they interact with information? Are they comfortable with numbers? Are they not comfortable with numbers? What do they need to know? Or what do they know, rather, and what do they not know? What do they need to be led to or taught? And finally, to know your objective. What do you want your audience to do? This is particularly important when we think about calls to action. So the idea of a call to action, and some of you who have been involved in public affairs or marketing might find this really resonant, is once the audience has seen this information, what do we want them to do? Do we want them to make a purchase? Do we want them to register for something? Do we want them to take a certain action like registering to vote or something of that nature? So those three elements as part of your brief are really, really valuable. Let's take a closer look on how to frame audiences. One really important element is their comfort level with data. And there are kind of four gradations of data comfort here and types of people. We have data experts who are statisticians, analysts, and data scientists who want and are comfortable with very detailed methodologies and can handle very complex visualizations. We also have data comfortable audiences, so ones who regularly work with data. They won't be fazed if we put numbers in front of them, but they aren't data specialists. We have data cautious people who understand basic charts, but tend to get very nervous with complex statistics and visualizations. And finally, we have data novices, so audiences who don't typically interact with data and need very careful guidance on how to consume and interpret information. Another frame is educational background. So we have technical audiences, engineers, scientists, or others that have very strong quantitative training. We have business background audiences, so people with MBAs or professionals who understand metrics but prefer practical applications. So if you put a spreadsheet in front of them or a complex quantitative visualization, their next question will be, well, what do you want me to take from this? What do you want me to do? We have people with a general educational background where they come from a lot of different places, may or may not be quantitative, and they require clear, accessible presentations that speak to their level of expertise. And finally, we have subject matter experts who have knowledge that is very deep in a particular field, but not necessarily broad. So you might have, for example, a librarian or a marketer or a sales leader who has very, very deep knowledge about their particular area of experience, but they don't really have a background in economics or statistics. Their data experience might be rather limited. And of course, also we have the level of interest and engagement. So we have decision makers who need clear, actionable insights that can drive towards a specific action. We have stakeholders who want to understand the impact on their area. We have the general public that might need context and engaging storytelling to make that information really relevant and resonant for them. And then we have required viewers, so people who have to look at this information because it's part of their job, but they need motivation to engage. Why does this really matter to me? And we can adjust our argument and our visualizations depending on the audience that we're encountering. We can adjust the complexity of visualizations, the level of technical detail, the amount of contextual information, the types of annotations and explanations, the choice of chart types, and interactive versus static elements, the types of affordances, as we've learned previously in the program. So now we need to define our objective, and that includes both our objective and our call to action. What is it that we want our audience to do? What concrete action do we want them to take after seeing your visualization? And this will vary by audience type. So executives might need to make decisions about investments or priorities for the whole organization or the whole business. Managers might need to adjust operations. team members might need to change or adjust their daily practices, and members of the public might need to understand a very complex issue and do something different. Again, if the call to action is, we want you to register to vote, or you should register to vote, or you should vote for this particular issue, or you should undertake this particular action. In this week's readings, we'll dive a little bit more into what audiences are and how we can work with our data to craft a point of view and to create a narrative and a mindset for the whole of visualization. So readings from Duarte are about knowing your decision maker, crafting a data point of view. From Kirk, working with data and establishing your editorial thinking. And we've posted some other videos on the Canvas module as well. The subtext here is that visualizers are more than reporters. And this is an area where the field has really evolved over the last several years, and also the nature of a lot of the work that we do and a lot of the collaborations that we do. So the stage that we tended to start with was as project managers. We were people who were there to accomplish a particular task for a research team or an insights team or a management team. And so what you would often hear is, well, I do things, I create visuals because my boss asks me to. My boss asks me every quarter for revenue numbers and website page views, so that's what I give them. My team cares more about revenue per customer, but management just wants that top line. So I just create the charts that management asks for. There's a shift towards teams having much more ownership over the product or service or area that they manage. So today we hear things like, my team is responsible for our own product. So we've identified revenue per customer as what's really important. We've created a dashboard that shows our product's revenue per customer and lets us pick out trends by geography and product line. This is really helpful for our management because we integrate it with the top line measures that they really care about, like top line revenue and website page views. So here, we as visualizers are able to ask, well, what is it that our various stakeholders are interested in? We know that senior management is interested in top-line measures, but we know that product managers really care about revenue per customer. So we produce something that is integrated. So moving on to this week's assignment coming up for week 3 is Makeover Monday. And the topic for this activity changes by week. So what you see here is last year's fall challenge around October 31st, which was for the Halloween holiday. So in this case, Makeover Monday had posted some data from the National Retail Federation, and the assignment was to make over the data into a compelling graphic. This is a very broad-based challenge. All that we ask is by 11:59 p.m. Friday night on week 3 Eastern Standard Time, that you create and post your response to that challenge on Canvas, and then post it to whichever of your socials you like, LinkedIn, Instagram, Blue Sky, any or all of them that you're on. The idea here is to join a community of practice and to hone your skills. Some of the best advice that I got when I started getting involved in the Tableau online community and some other online communities is that the best way to build your skills is to practice and to build the things that you're interested in, follow topics that you're interested in, and visualize data that you find intriguing or motivating. Focus on the essentials by time boxing your submission to 1 hour. So this is not something that should take a long time. You can render that visualization in any format that you like. You can use Tableau Public, you can use Figma, you can hand draw something as well. but the intent is that you develop something that speaks to you and that you're able to share. Uh, Makeover Monday is one of several challenges that you might see across the year. The Data Visualization Society typically runs two. One is related to their annual survey, and there's an opportunity to take the data from that survey and visualize them in compelling ways. There's also the Information is Beautiful Awards that usually solicits in the spring. Anybody can submit a visualization. Then they usually come out with their shortlist in April, and that's something that's available to everyone to join. Uh, there's also a Sports Viz Sunday, which focuses on visualizations around professional and amateur sports. And there's also the Du Bois Challenge, which is typically for around Black History Month in the United States, February of the year. And this is memorializing the beautiful data visualizations that W.E.B. Du Bois created. So this is an opportunity to render different data, typically related to Black history, in ways that honor that wonderful book. If you'd like to learn more about any of these, don't hesitate to reach out. And so with that, that ends our session 2. Remember that we have optional office hours on Friday of each week from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Zoom. So thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from all of you.